Today on Homeworthy, we're visiting the Edwardian London townhouse of James Arkoulis and Stuart Spice. As an interior designer, James infused their home with bright colors and collected objects that speak to each other in a sophisticated yet whimsical way. Meanwhile, Stuart, a garden designer, ensured their dreamy outdoor space filled with terracotta planters and flourishing greenery was the idyllic spot for entertaining. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. To shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy episodes, be sure to check out the product links below for amazing furniture, accessories, and more.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm James.
I'm Stuart.
And welcome to our house in London. Come in. So we're here in the entrance hall and I'm going to give you guys the tour inside because Stuart's a garden designer and I'm an interior designer. So we agreed that we would kind of split what we do here, although you'll see that throughout there's influences from both of us. So when we first saw the house, which was about 3 years ago, one of the things that I really loved was that this space still had a lot of the original features, like the original Edwardian tiles. And this was really a good starting point for us with colour because we knew that bringing colour into the house was something that was going to be really important. And actually, when we first came here, everything was painted white. So it really has been a blank canvas with something to start from. But I did feel that in this entrance hall with these tiles, and you'll see behind you, we've got a beautiful like stained glass window in the door. So it was almost like the house was saying, I do want a bit of colour. So we kind of took that as a starting point. And here we've kind of started quite neutrally, I think. We didn't want to overdo it when you walk in because as you'll see, like the rooms that lead off this have like strong tones. So this is a colour called Henderson Buff by Benjamin Moore Paints. And we went for this because you get a lot of light from the front and the back of the house here. So actually the light changes throughout the day. And it was really important to find a tone that worked in the morning, in the evening, but that also worked with the tiles. And then we had quite a lot of conversations about whether we were going to keep this wallpaper or not, which I am convinced is original, but lots of people just don't like it and said, you have to take it out, you've got to strip it off. But in the end, we decided to just paint it in a nice neutral tone. And I think it's nice that we have something here that for me definitely nods back to the original way the house might have been. On top of that then, we've tried to add colour. I've got an artwork here by one of my favourite Greek artists called Eclectic. And I really, really love like the bold red and almost electric blue and the simplicity of the lines. And we have some other pieces from him throughout. So actually on the table here, we've got an original print of his, which I bought Stuart for his birthday because it's a guy frolicking in the garden. So it reminded me of him. And it's like centre place on this lovely table, which was one of the nice things about having a bit of room here in the opening, because it's nice to have somewhere to put your keys and your shoes. And we always kind of collect things on here. So there's normally flowers to bring a bit of colour, and have my favourite jar of Santa Maria Novella potpourri, which I definitely feel potpourri is not just for the 80s. This stuff is amazing. So we bought it in Florence and it just smells absolutely gorgeous. And apart from that, one of the other essentials that we put in here, I think if you live in London, is we have some door curtains, because certainly in the winter, coming home when it's freezing cold and totally miserable, there's nothing nicer than pulling those closed and just putting the world behind you and coming into a house that's nice and warm and cozy. So if you come down here, I can show you a little bit what else we did with the hall. We've obviously put in a new stair runner, which brings a little bit of the blue through that you'll see in the other rooms and is kind of picked up in the colours of the print and in this vintage lamp that we found in France as well. And I think throughout the house, we've tried to link the colours wherever you go. And originally down here, this has changed, so we put this door in so you could see through to the kitchen, which is something an Edwardian never would have wanted you to be able to do when you walked into the house. And the reason that we did that is so that we could put in a little loo under the stairs, which is so useful in London. And here we went for a really, really bold colour to try and make it fun. And when people come around for dinner and things, they're obviously not expecting this to be here, and they love it when they go in. It's got a really kind of almost like, I don't know, like a nightclubby kind of vibe. It's like very dark and moody, and it's got a great sink that we've bought in Marrakesh. So I love that. It's been a great addition to the house, although not original. And then from here, we can go through into the sitting room, and I'll show you the rest of the house. So welcome to the sitting room. This is one of the rooms that we really loved when we first saw the house. It's got amazing proportions and the original fireplaces. Although, like I said, everything was painted white, it still had the beautiful original ceiling details here. So it had a lot of character, and we could feel straight away that this room had great potential to be a wonderful place to entertain with friends and family. It's amazing at Christmas, and we have a really big Christmas tree here and the fire going. And this was a room where I knew that we probably wanted to go quite bold with the colour because it's a big space. So it really felt that it could take something quite strong. And I had in my mind, I really wanted to do an olive green, but finding the right green was something that took a really long time. And we tried about 30 different greens in here. And the issue being that a lot of them looked great to start with, but during the day, especially in the UK being a bit miserable sometimes, they would start going grey and look a bit sad. So eventually we found this amazing colour made by this guy down in Sussex, and it's weirdly called You Call That a Pub is the name of the colour. I mean, I love that all throughout the day it kind of changes colour. It's got a really warm undertone to it. It's really rich. But unfortunately, it did take about 7 coats of paint to get it to this level. And my husband, Stuart, painted this room. So he's just about forgiven me for that. And I think it looks good. So we've agreed it was worth it in the end. So coming in, I mean, a few of the things that I love here, like basically we collect things all the time. So this is a lamp that was from my aunt who lived in Milan, and it's an original Murano glass piece, which I love. And we've tried to mix the more traditional elements of this room with more contemporary artwork that we've collected. This is a Swedish mid-century painting. And I also, actually, I found this on eBay, and I thought it was so funny because it really reminds me of the sculptures that the mum makes in Beetlejuice. And I think that's such a great film. And so I was like, well, this is coming home for sure. In this room, I've really tried with the schemes, you'll see, to tie in botanical elements that link to what my husband does. So yes, we always have fresh flowers here, but in things like the trims on the curtains, these have got like a small flower detail. And again, the cushions here have got a scrolling fern. So I've tried to include that in a subtle way. But also I love these cushions because they're like our winter spring cushions. So in the summer, have this side round, and in the winter, you've got a cozy velvet on the back. And also this fabric was much more expensive than the back one, so it also was economical too. This coffee table we had made for our house by this amazing craftsman down in Sussex. So it's made of charred oak, and he's like hand chipped all the edge here as well. So this is one of my favorite pieces that we had made. And I really like that it's quite contemporary, given that the space naturally, I think, feels a little bit traditional. And something else that we had made especially for here was this sofa, because I thought it'd be really lovely to have a window seat so you could sit in that space. And it's great when you've got people here that there's different areas for people to sit and talk. But as we couldn't build a window seat in because there's a radiator there, we decided to have this sofa made, and it's a really, really cozy corner to sit in. This is kind of fun because obviously there's always that point when you're designing a room and you want everything to look great, and then you have to put the television somewhere. So I was really conscious that I didn't want sort of a black box on the wall all the time, especially when we have people over for things. So actually, this is a vintage drinks cabinet that we found online, and the television is put away in here for most of the time. So the room can look lovely, but when we want to sit down and watch a movie, it's in there. Apart from that, like, it's again just adding things together. So we've got this artwork collection on the wall here, and some of the pieces we've drawn, some are collected, some have been given to us, and this is kind of changing all the time. Like, I don't like the house to be too kind of fixed. It's not about everything having to be in the same place always. I think it's nice to keep the energy flow by being able to move things around whenever you want, and especially, you know, in the spring and summer having flowers, and then in the winter having different things and candles and stuff. And I think it really helps keep the house feeling alive. We do love collecting things, and sometimes collecting things means finding things on the street near your house. So actually, this is a chair that when we lived at our old house in Fulham, we were walking to the shops one day and there it was, and we kind of looked at each other and were like, I mean, it's clearly here for someone to take. So it came home with us. I promise it was definitely there for someone to take. We didn't steal someone's chair. But so we've had this for ages, and it's been a desk chair. It's been so many things, but we kind of use it here because, again, I like that it's a real mix with its contemporary, like the metal frame. It feels like almost a little bit Bauhausy. And then we had this ottoman made in Morocco to go with it. So I think it kind of ties the two together and makes it like a nice place to sit. So when my stepfather comes over, he always loves sitting in this chair. This is his chair. So it's appreciated, and I think it really works well in the space. It's like a slightly different style to the other more traditional elements that we have too. So we can go now and have a look in the dining room, which flows straight off here, which is really nice. If you're coming over maybe for a party, we'd probably head straight to here, and I could get you a drink, alcoholic or non-alcoholic, no judgment. And this is always a great kind of mingling area when we have people round. And the nice thing about the two rooms is that they really do link together. So when you've got people over, whether it's for a big dinner or like a party, this like space works so nicely together. And again here we had a traditional fireplace, which was nice. And obviously these rooms would have originally been separate from each other. And this had been opened before we came actually. But I think we would have opened it anyway because it's nice that it flows through. And although we do have dinner parties here, but this is also where Stuart does a lot of his design work and drawing. So it's nice he can sit here and do that and look out at the garden. And this is an Edwardian vintage pendant, which I found online. And I thought, although we haven't got a lot of very traditional lighting in the house, I thought that this was a nice way to kind of nod to the period of the home a little bit. And it's kind of offset with more contemporary things. So this is a painting that was commissioned by my granddad in the 70s. And it's a bit out there, but I like it. I always, when I was a child, used to think it looked a bit like some kind of sea creature on the bottom of the ocean. But I think it actually works pretty well in this space. It's very 70s, as you can tell. But I think that's the nice thing throughout. We've just kind of tried to mix in different elements. So you have this, and then the print over the fireplace is by a Brazilian artist. So we got this quite recently, but I love it. And again, it's kind of got like a reference to plants and things. So it's always just about, I think, trying to find that balance, bringing colour in, bringing fun in, and mixing different periods and styles in a way that feels like it's natural to this house here. In the room, we tend not to put this fireplace on so much because it's the smaller one. And obviously when this was originally an Edwardian house, you can tell it's much smaller. So this was considered like a less grand room than the front room where we have the bigger fireplace. And in the winter, we do have the front fireplace on a lot, which is really nice. But here, one thing that we did is we changed the tiles on the reveal here. So these are from a wonderful company in London called Barloneum. And I've always loved these, amazing. They're almost like a funky tortoiseshell. So I didn't really know where we were going to use them, but when we had the fireplace slips here, I was like, this is the absolute perfect place to put those. And I just love that. Again, it's obviously a really traditional period piece, but if you just do something simple like changing the tiles in there, it's made it really work with the rest of the room, and it makes it fun and contemporary. So I have to say actually, having fireplaces was one of the things that really drew us to the house as well, because it's such a nice thing to be able to do, especially around Christmas and the holidays and things. So it really brings the room alive, yeah. This end of the room, as well as obviously being a dining room, comes somewhere that we work, is also like a library, and we have a lot of books. So actually we do need more bookshelves now, but got a lot of our collections here. There's a big section on gardening books, which Stuart uses a lot, and we've got some records. I get a lot of records from my dad, who probably has the biggest record collection than anyone should ever have. So I'm always like, just give them to me, And so I have a lot of vintage records from my dad here, and we've got a little record player. And I do also like collecting really odd ones, like the glories of Tudor church music, which, is actually turns out to be really interesting. So it's, again, we just always seeing little things like these vintage cameras that we bought at a flea market in Berlin. And the fun thing is things like that. So we found this camera and then realized there was actually a film in it that had been used. So I took it down to get it developed. And there were all these photos of, obviously, I don't know who they are, but it's kind of amazing that there's this connection with these people who lived probably 50 years ago in Berlin, and just little interesting things like that. So the house is full of all these little things that we've collected. And I think I like to refer to them as life souvenirs, because I think that makes it sound better than just saying we have loads of stuff. Although this room has really beautiful proportions, which we didn't want to mess with, one of the things that we did want to change is how connected this room feels to the garden, because all of the house for us is really about how it relates to the outside space. So here originally there were 2 small windows and a single door, and it really didn't feel like you could kind of have this open connection, which was so important. So we had these doors made and the opening made bigger, and on a day like today when it's open, it really does feel like you just go straight outside into the garden, and they really are kind of as one together. So on that note, we can go and find Stuart, and he can tell you a bit about what he's been doing in the garden.
So this garden is actually on a north-facing aspect, and everyone told us, do you really want to take on a north-facing garden? But I saw that as a bit of a challenge. So this is kind of the way in from the dining area into the garden, and it's really I thought it was really good to have a good strong focal point running down the garden. It's kind of got these 4 great big terracotta pots there, and then at the end you'll see there's a big Greek urn to kind of reflect what James's heritage and these Greek. So this is kind of a bit of a shady area, really a really nice cool area in the summertime. Obviously London gets really hot, so it's really nice to have that kind of respite. Sometimes you'll sit here with a nice table and chairs, and just have really nice sort of chilled evening with a glass of wine. Some people we chose gravel as a finish, and people were like, "Why have you chosen gravel? It's a bit of a dodgy material to use at the back of a house." But I really like it as a material to be used. And people think oh, you might take it into the house, but you don't, because what we've done is we've put these 2 great big giant slabs here, and that kind of stops the gravel from going in. But I just love the sound of it, I love the feel of it, I love the texture, I love the colour, and it's really practical. With this being north facing, sometimes when you use a stone or say a wooden material, it can get quite slimy in the winter time, and you have to jet wash it off. But with gravel, it's no problem at all. You just can come out and you can walk on it and not feel like you're going to slip over. We had this tabletop made. It's actually a zinc by a company called Think Zinc. I really wanted a metal top, because a lot of things, and it's been made bespoke for us. And it needed to be made bespoke for this space, because finding it really difficult to find a table that fitted this space properly. And then we just put some really fun, colourful chairs around, and then the parasol is just, I think, something we found online. So the garden is constantly changing. I do the opposite of what I advise people to do, which is plant the right plant in the right place. And I'm always trying to push the boundaries on that, because I always want to see how far you can take something in a space where you think maybe it's a shady area, but can I put a plant that likes it more sunny? Will it work? Especially with a changing environment that we currently live in, everything's getting hotter. So I like to play around. This is a bit of a playground, this garden. I like to play around with things and move things around, constantly changing it. It's constantly evolving. It never stays still. To be honest with you, this is kind of my own individual project. I went to the plant nursery and just went, what plants do I really like? And I'm going to make it work. So, and I did have a kind of a rough idea on sketch, on plan, but That's since changed as well. The garden has grown and evolved as time's gone by. I mean, it's only been here for 2 years, but it does change quite a lot. It's changed quite a lot in that. It's really, really interesting, yeah, because at night time, we've got a lot of lighting around the garden, and sometimes you might put up a disco ball out here. So the whole space becomes quite a magical space at night. And all the trees, all the plants, everything's kind of lit up. So it becomes a really good sort of evening with friends, kind of dining, drinking, cocktail hour. That's the idea. It's kind of like having this kind of like secret garden in London. That's you open the front door, you come through the back, and it's kind of, you're just by yourself, basically. Me and James actually installed this little water feature ourselves. And it's really, really because London is quite a noisy place to live in. And just to have that lovely bit of water sound, that sound in the garden, just really distracts you from everything else that's going on around you. So yeah, it's a really, really lovely feature to have in the garden. And if you can fit a water feature in your garden, just a little one somewhere, I would do it. This big stone sink here, there was a purchase from eBay, and it weighs an absolute ton. Didn't realise it at the time, but trying to get it here, getting it installed. But it's a really, really good thing to have. Like, when we entertain, we'll fill this all up with ice and have like bottles of wine in and things like that. So it's a really good, it becomes like a drink station as well. So at night. This is kind of like a bit of a sundown space. So the sun hits down here, and you can sit here and bathe in the sun in the evening. And yeah, have a little glass of wine or something. And you'll probably notice that a lot of the pots around here, they're all just one material, they're all just terracotta. And I think it's really important when you're designing a space to just not overdo it on the amount of materials you use. So all terracotta pots, I think just kind of grounds it, and it gives it a bit more of a traditional kind of look out here as well. But yet with a contemporary tabletop, the contemporary colour in the chairs, I think that kind of like makes it a little bit more modern. This tabletop is constantly changing. So in the springtime, this will be full of spring bulbs, spring flowers. All these pots, a lot of these pots get rechanged to that. And then right now, this is quite like a hot and sunny look. All the aeoniums. And now I'll let you go and see James, who's going to talk to you about the kitchen.
Now we're in the kitchen, which obviously it comes straight through off the entrance hall, and we like now that the house feels a lot more connected. And again, in terms of the colours that we chose, the entrance is obviously in a soft greeny yellow, and coming into this space, it feels like a logical kind of progression of colours. Also, we picked this kind of deep ochre because this is a north-facing room, and especially until we put the new window in here, it was a bit grim. And I mean, the kitchen itself was exceptionally grim. So we have taken everything out. This was one of the rooms where we've done the most work. And I'm so pleased that the results now feel kind of warm and fun, and we've managed to make it feel a lot more like our home. And I think through the use of the colours and things like these slightly mid-century tiles, which really remind me of my grandparents' kitchen in Greece. They had a super mid-century kitchen. So we thought this was like a fun nod to that. But again, it's about balance everywhere. So the walls are really strong, and that's important in making the room feel warm and welcoming. But then because of that, we've gone for really simple cream cabinets. And although this isn't a huge space, when we first came to the house, we thought we were going to do a big extension and change all of these rooms completely. But when we really got to know the home, it really felt like it would be such a shame to do that. It has such a nice character of its own. So we really wanted to see how we could make this room work. And for two people, in terms of size, it does work really well. But we've kind of split it up into different areas. So here we have what we call the bistro, which is where after a day at work and maybe you come home and it's a bit cold and miserable outside and stuff, we'd like to sit here and have a glass of wine and have a catch up, and I'll say, shall I meet you in the bistro tonight? And like, it's nice to have somewhere that we can sit and talk and that's different than going and sitting and watching television. And we have a lovely plate rack here that we built, which I think is fun, and it's a nice way to kind of, you know, display something other than artwork, which we have all throughout the house, and we have nice plates here that we've collected and things. So this is one of my favorite bits of the kitchen, but probably my favorite bit of the kitchen is the new sink that we put in. So the old sink area was just not good. So we kind of wanted to make a real feature of this with the units, and having this window here has made such a difference to the space. And I thought, what do we do here? Do we put a blind, or I don't know, sometimes in the kitchen you don't want that. So I wanted to find some way to try and make this an interesting space though, and somewhere that, you know, if you do have to stand and do the washing up, you're like, well, actually I like standing there, it's nice. So I remembered when we were in Barcelona, we had seen in Park Güell, which was designed by Gaudi, they had a lot of kind of painted details around the windows there. And so that's loosely where this idea came from. And now it's like one of my favorite parts of the house. So we always have flowers through the summer, and, you know, you've got to do the washing up, so you might as well make it somewhere that is fun to do it. So we love having people over for dinner, and Stu actually is more of the cook than me, I would say. So the nice thing now is we've got plenty of work surface, there's lots of room to cook, and although having open plan's brilliant, we've found that having the dining room and the kitchen separate is actually really great when you have people over, because it means that you can make loads of mess in here if you're feeling super creative in the kitchen, and then no one really has to see it either. So that's definitely been a bonus for us, yeah. Here we bought this cabinet from a charity shop in London, and it basically houses all the little like jugs and salt and pepper shakers and bowls and all the things that we've collected from traveling around, and they're always so useful when we have people over for dinner and they all come out. But it's nice having them in here, and it's nice that you can see them as well, so we love that. And I think it's a really nice way to kind of display things and put them away. And then apart from that, here we've got our fridge, which I think it's kind of important that even if you are trying to always be really tasteful in your house, that maybe there's room to not be so tasteful somewhere. So our fridge is where we have all the slightly naff fridge magnets and things that we've collected. And whenever people go away, we always say, please, like, bring us back a really, really awful fridge magnet from somewhere. And they're all displayed here. So I just think you need that space. Like, it shouldn't be too perfect. You've got to have somewhere to have fun, and the fridge is our place for that. So. This room being somewhere that we were conscious we wanted it to feel really warm, we were undecided to start with about whether we were going to do a stone on the countertops or a nice timber. And I think in the end, having the wood here it's really lovely. It's so tactile, and it definitely helps to bring a bit of warmth to the space, which is really what we were looking for in here. And I think it works really nicely against the blue of the tiles. It brings a little bit of richness, which is really important to the kitchen as well. Okay, so now we'll go upstairs, so follow me. Okay, so we're here on the landing. Obviously all the rooms upstairs lead off from here, and again the colour from downstairs comes all the way up, which is why again it was important it kind of worked with all the colours coming off these rooms. And in this space we've got a few interesting things. So this is a vintage Marimekko sample piece that I was given by someone I used to work with, and it's just a really, really super long piece of fabric, but I've put it on 2 bits of canvas, and I think it's beautiful. It's almost like an abstract landscape painting. So that works really well in this space here, I think. And we've also got this unusual sculpture that I bought when I was about 11. I was down with my grandma in Hastings, and I asked to empty my post office savings account to buy it, and she was completely horrified. But to be fair, to this day, it is still here, so I feel it was a great purchase, and we love these Hindu gods who hopefully are keeping an eye on all of us in the house and keeping us good. So from here we could go through into the bedroom, and I'll show you that. Okay, so this is our bedroom, and it's the most neutral room in the house. So although I said Stuart and I split the design, and you know, we kind of let each other have our own creative spaces, he was quite specific. He said, I love all the colour, that's really great, but can we please have something more neutral in the bedroom? And so, like any good interior designer, I listened to what my client said, and hence we have this colour. But I still think it's really interesting. It's nice, it changes tone throughout the day. And I've tried to then bring the colour with other things. So this is a painting that I did of the island that my Greek family's from. And again, we've got like little pops, like Stuart bought this for me in Japan. So it's a Japanese fish flag. And I love that because I love fish, and I used to have lots of fish when I was younger. And I'd always really wanted a 4-poster bed, but we went and found something that was like a little bit more contemporary as well, you know, without all the curtains and all of that stuff. And this felt like it really worked nicely in the space and brings a bit of character. And we found these are vintage, kind of slightly Art Deco bedside tables, which again, I think it's nice to mix the kind of richer woods against the dark, more of like a lacquer of this. And then again, it's just about kind of layering things together. I always like have a stack of books by the bed. Like it's always good to have things to read. Sometimes they're, you know, educational, highbrow, sometimes not so much, but you know, always something on the go there. And then the rest of the rooms really have got lots of family photos and like mementos of different things. So just here we've got a collection of some prints, and these are some of them we've done. So I did this painting and this piece here and this drawing, but then this is a print by Yayoi Kusuma, who I love her work, and I probably just said her name wrong as well, so I'm really sorry for that. And they're just like little bits that we've collected together. So this was Stuart's grandparents, and this is a vintage chest that's always useful to have as well. And I just think it's nice to have things in the bedroom. So we tried to keep it calming, so there's not too much stuff going on in here, but it's a level that I think works really well for us and still gives the room a bit of character. So one of the things that we did love about the house was that it did still have some of the original features. So this is one of the original Edwardian wardrobes, which looks beautiful. I would say is limited in terms of its practical use for clothes, because actually Edwardians used to hang their clothes back to front rather than sideways like we do now. So it's not actually deep enough to hang clothes in this way, which is why we have the separate dressing room, but it is very useful for keeping all sorts of other stuff in. And again, the room had the original fireplaces, which we don't use, but I thought these were so pretty, and I loved the colour of these tiles particularly and the design on them. This is probably like my favourite colour, this teal, and so it's nice that they were here as a starting point to kind of pull colours on for when we were doing different things in the house too. So again, with the curtains here, like I wanted to find something that felt a little bit bedroomy, so we went for a ticking stripe, and then this trim we found actually in an antiques market in Hay-on-Wye in Wales, and I bought it for the company thinking we would use it on a project somewhere, but then I realised actually I liked it too much, so it's here in our bedroom instead. And I think it's a really nice way to just bring a little bit of interest on what otherwise would be really simple curtains, but I love them. Okay, that's the bedroom, so come with me and I'll show you the bathroom. This is probably the other room where we did the most, apart from the kitchen, because again, this room hadn't really, I think, been decorated since at least the 90s and was a bit miserable. And in terms of the layout, really didn't work. So you had a toilet right here when you walked in, and then you had a long bath with the shower over it, which kind of isn't ideal. So we were really looking for a way to try and give this room a little bit more character in its limited space, but also so that we could have a separate bath and a shower, which I really wanted because I love a bath, and I really wanted to have a bath where I wasn't sitting underneath the shower all the time. So we managed to figure the layout out. I think it works really well. We kept actually the motif of the black and white tiles, which felt quite Edwardian and classic, but then we've used a sort of a lighter sagey green on the walls here to give a little bit of contrast to that. And this stained glass window was actually what was downstairs, separating the kitchen from the hallway so that you couldn't see through all the way from the front door. And we knew we had to keep it and use it somewhere. So for now, it's here in the bathroom, and it's a nice little addition to the space. So you can see I did eventually get my dream bath, which is a roll top, and it is super comfy, I have to tell you, but I knew that wanted to do something a little bit different with it as well. So at work, we've done a lot of projects where we have baths and we've painted them like bright red and things, but I thought I've got to try and maybe do something a little bit more personal for us here. And I really couldn't think what to do. I knew maybe I wanted to paint on it, but then I have this guy that I bought at the British Museum when I was about 10. So it's obviously not an original from ancient Egypt, but from the gift shop. And I just always loved this turquoise color and the patterns on him. So this really became the starting point for sort of getting on the floor and painting the bath. And I have to say, I kind of love it. I think it's nice to have something a little bit different, and it's the kind of thing that really anyone can do. So I think that was fun. And then the other thing that we've done in here is layered in quite a lot of pictures. And the idea from that was a bit obscure, that we went to Osborne House on the Isle of Wight and we saw Prince Albert's bathroom, which actually again was really small, but it had all these amazing oil paintings going up to the ceiling. And obviously we don't have that grand proportion here, but I thought, yeah, why not just have paintings in the bathroom? And this is actually a painting that I had done, so I kind of can sit here and critique it while I'm in the bath and, know what I should change next time. So it often does come off the wall and I will try and improve on it. But really a painting's never finished, is it? So this could be going on for a while. And then the other piece is this belonged to my grandparents in Greece, and it's a micro mosaic, which is amazing that they've made this painting out of the smallest stones. So I love that piece, and it's really personal to us. And then this is something quite fun that we found in Wales. So this is for the person, I think, who has everything and loves decor, because it folds down. So it's like a traveling display shelf, so that you can just take, when you're away, you feel like you must have something to display things on. I mean, I just thought, who designed this? But I kind of love them for it. So this is now here. It doesn't necessarily come traveling with us, but I thought it was just too cute. So that's, I think, the highlights of the bathroom. This is our dressing room, which, as I said before, the wardrobes, although they're really cute in the bedrooms, genuinely don't fit a lot of clothes. So this would have been the third bedroom, and actually when we came here, the person who had the house before, I think definitely their grandchildren used to stay in here, and there were loads of stickers of like spaceships and stuff like that all over the wall. I'm pretty sure we've got most of them off now, but every now and then I do find one somewhere still. And in this room, I wanted to go for quite a deep color, and this has taken a long time again, and I am going to be really honest with you guys. I'm not sure I got the color right in here. This is supposed to be Venetian red, but I feel it's definitely more Venetian orange. And I think this room is definitely probably going to get painted again. But that's, I think that's the nice thing about when you're on home, isn't it? You can try things, it's different, and until you're happy with it, just keep going. So it's always a bit of a work in progress. But I do love that this room has given us somewhere to keep all our clothes. It's a nice place to come and get ready, put everything away. And I guess it feels like a little bit of a luxury in London and not a really, really big house. So we love it. Okay, so this is our guest room. And when we were moving to the house, we knew it was really important that we would have a big guest room so friends and family can stay. And we love that this room is almost as big as our room, so we can make somewhere that's really kind of cozy for people. And when I was thinking of a starting point for that and what could we do, what color would be kind of the most cozy color I could think of for here, I was thinking back to my grandparents' house in the 90s. And I feel like there was a lot of this kind of like peachy pink in the 90s. And so I was like, I'm going to go and try and find this color. I feel like this would be a good starting point for this room. But we could not find the color for here anywhere. And we tried loads of different things out. And eventually I saw this that we had, which is like this aftershave box. And I was like, that's the colour. I was like, that is exactly the colour that we need. So I took this down to the paint shop at the end of the road, and the very patient lady there, who I'd obviously been in a lot of times already, was kind of like, oh, you're back. And I was like, yeah, I've got like, you know, can you do this? Can you match this colour to me? And she did. She found a Benjamin Moore colour. I think this is called Roman Shade, but we like to call it Butch Pink. And this is the cozy colour of our guest room. And I've tried to kind of offset that with navy blue and the greens of the artwork. Again, these slightly somber ladies I found on eBay, and I thought they were just interesting. I'm not really sure what they're all thinking, but it was a nice, I like the green against the pick. It's kind of a classic combination. And in here we've also got, this is a piece again that I got from my family in Italy, so it's traveled quite a long way to be here, but it's very useful in the guest room. And again, around the bed, I've just tried to make it really cozy. We've got these really nice Cantha quilts, which are hand block printed, and they again just, they're not matching. I think that's what's important. Like, I didn't want all the colours to be matching necessarily, but these kind of different greens and blues and yellows I think work really, really well against the pink. And this is a room again where we have the original wardrobes, but I put a little rail up here so when people come around we can put some hangers out and people can hang their clothes up here, which I think is always really useful when you've got guests. And then the book overflow also lives in this room, as well as our collection of little knickknacks, all the little guys that we've collected through traveling around the world. And some of them have been gifts and some of them we've bought when we've been abroad, but they're all here to kind of bring good luck and, you know, positive energy to all the people sleeping in this room. And I think that's really the whole point of this space, is to have somewhere, a home away from home, that people come and feel really, really welcome and kind of settled and happy. And that, with the original fireplace, was something, again, that was a nice starting point in this room. And actually, it did already have like a little bit of almost pink in here, and green and yellow. So it's funny, in a way, the room maybe was telling me what the scheme should be before we even started, actually. So as well as having the double bed in here, one of the great things about this room was that we have this big bay window here, and I love that you've got the olive trees outside, so it almost feels like a little bit like you're staying in a tree house. And at least that's certainly what I tell my nephews when they're the ones that have to stay on the single bed in the window. But it's been a great way to get a bit of extra space in here, so you can have 3 people sleep in this room. And this was actually a day bed that we had from IKEA at our old house, but it literally just fit in absolutely perfectly. So it's really, really used that space well, and it just means that this is a really comfy room for, you know, my sister and her nephews to come and stay in when they come here to stay with us. Obviously, we love plants, and we have a lot, and they have congregated here in this corner where I feel they're really happy together. They're creating their own little jungle ecosystem in the corner, and, you know, I'm sure providing lots of great oxygen for the people staying in this room. And again, like, kind of tying in with the plant theme, I found these curtains. They were actually from a supplier online, but I had them lined by our curtain maker so that they're really, really nice and thick now and have blackout in them as well. But I just thought this pattern with the leaves and the navy blue and the yellow just worked so well in this space that they were just perfect for here. And they add freshness with the cream as well against the pink walls, I think, which is important to have that balance in here, so it's not too cute, you know. So this is a print that was given to me for my birthday a few years ago, and Aldous Huxley is a relation on my mum's side of the family. I've always been really intrigued in his books and literature, and actually did a degree in English literature before I was an interior designer. So this is a piece that I love, not only for obviously the family connection, but I love how graphic it is. And again, I like the contrast that you've got this kind of really like soft, like powdery pink walls, and then this really, really strong, bold print on it. I think that kind of contrast is something that I really, really love in a space. So it works really well for me here. think so many things make a house a home, and you said fun.
Definitely fun, yeah.
But I think for us it's also somewhere where you have all the things that you love together, whether that's friends and family or things you've collected and artwork and books, but wherever you bring those things together, that's home.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.